What's going on, everyone? So I'm just about 10 full weeks into my natural bodybuilding competition prep. In this video, while showing you some footage of several of my latest training sessions, I'm going to give you a pretty full update of how my prep has been going thus far. Specifically, how my diet's been going, my training's been going, and also how I'm managing some of the most difficult challenges of the prep that I've run into thus far. The biggest of which simply being mentally managing the very long timeline of my prep, since it is around a year long in total. Anyhow, I do want to keep the intro short, so without further ado, let's dive right into it. Though there have been some ups and downs, my training has been going well overall so far throughout the prep. For the first 4 or 5 weeks or so, I was still hitting some pretty significant PRs. But since getting deeper into dieting, the rate in which I've been hitting those PRs has been slowing down quite a bit. This is normal, I think, as since I am in a deficit, I'm taking in less energy from food, so naturally, even upon pushing my limits when I'm training, the energy needed to hit ongoing PRs is just not available in the same amount of abundance that it was before I started the prep and dieting when I was lean bulking and I was taking in more energy from food. I'm still pushing hard though, and have been getting a great stimulus consistently. So I'm feeling confident that I'm holding on to all of my muscle despite not hitting as many PRs as frequently. I have had to work around a few nagging pains, which has been a bit of a hindrance, but nothing major that I haven't been able to work around and recover from. Mainly, I've experienced a sharp kind of cutting pain around my right pec that was hurting for all of my pressing movements and even some pulling movements. That was definitely not ideal. I adapted to the pain by modifying the loads I was lifting, mainly for my chest pressing. I slowed down the reps a bit, changed my rep targets, and opted to follow my own rule of not pushing to the point of making the nagging pain worse. It's taken a few weeks, but the pain is pretty much 100% gone, which is definitely a relief. From my experience, nagging pains are kind of a cost of doing business when it comes to natural bodybuilding. As such, one of the most important skills I've learned is how to work around those pains when they happen and to be patient enough to not push too hard too early when they are still healing to avoid re-aggravating them and allowing them to actually heal. That being so, all in all, I've been getting great stimulus from my training sessions and have still been enjoying the lifting. The injury or the nagging pain is pretty much recovered, so I'm feeling pretty good about training and holding on to my muscle at this early stage of prep. As for my diet, well, I've dropped just over 10 pounds so far and I'm still riding fairly high calories. I have 6 low days at 3,100 calories and 1 high day at 3,600 calories. Can't complain much about that. Even so, that's still a deficit for me and I can feel it at this point of dieting. My hunger levels are getting a little bit higher, but it's been nothing that hasn't been manageable. I can feel myself having the desire to keep eating once I get to the end of my meals, even though my stomach is pretty full. There's probably a combination of some psychological reasoning behind that and from starting to experience some of the physiological effects of just getting a bit leaner from being on a deficit. I tend to feel the most hunger after my lunch, in the late afternoon, early evening before my dinner. The hunger is growing a bit as the weeks go on, but again, it's been pretty manageable. I'm human, so I still do feel the discomfort of dieting, even though this is my 5th time prepping. But that's just one of the trade-offs of fat loss dieting. I've learned that the feeling of hunger is something that ought to be embraced rather than fought, especially since hunger will only become more extreme as I get deeper into the prep. All in all, though, I really can't complain. 3,100 calories on low days with a 3,600 calorie high day in the mix is pretty nice to diet on, that's for sure. Now, I'm still light years away from my first possible competition day. In fact, the earliest competition I'm aiming for will be at least 9 months from now. And that's after having dieted for nearly 10 full weeks up to this point already. You might be wondering, why the heck are you taking so long to do this prep? Can you do it in like half that amount of time or less? Well, a very long prep actually makes the process overall easier. It gives me more time to be flexible for maintenance blocks or adding in a diet break or two, and ultimately will lead me to a fresher, more muscular looking physique when I'm on stage. A maintenance block is a great thing to have in the midst of a prep. It will allow me to both psychologically and physiologically recharge before getting into the latter half or the more intense part of the prep diet to get to my stage weight. See, if my prep timeline was shorter, I would have to diet overall more aggressively. Although it might be nice to not diet for as long, the shorter diet period would be more uncomfortable and potentially lead me to losing more muscle overall by the time I get to the stage. It would ultimately mean eating fewer calories, not being able to potentially take a maintenance block, and also possibly skipping a diet break. So for me, taking the extra time to prep is a no-brainer. A long prep does come with its own set of challenges though. Two main ones come to mind for me. The first one is that a longer prep simply means spending more time dieting in the structure and restriction of a prep. Honestly, this is a challenge that doesn't faze me too much, since having a structured eating routine is actually my preferred default, and I do it whether I'm in a prep or not. I enjoy eating the same meals every day. I enjoy eating at around the same times every day, and I enjoy eating satiating, unprocessed whole foods. The only difference between being in a prep versus not being in a prep is just eating fewer calories. My food choices are almost completely the same. The part that's difficult about this is simply the effect of the deficit. Growing hunger over time, a gradual decrease of energy, mainly when I get closer to the end of prep, and a mostly psychologically driven desire to continue eating after I've finished my meals. But honestly, I think I'm gifted with a personality that thrives on that kind of ongoing challenge. There's a second challenge of participating in a long prep that I found to be more difficult than that first one, and it's simply keeping myself mentally in the present. Being so far out from my first competition, it can be easy for me to wish away the time, fixating on the future and the end product, which is being stage ready and competing at my first show. Ultimately, I found that focus on the future is a one-way ticket to unnecessary anxiety and ultimately a means of losing my mental and emotional peace throughout the process. And that's not only something I know can become excessively uncomfortable for me, but something that can take away from everyone around me. If I'm feeling anxious and uncomfortable, then there's a pretty high probability I won't be a joy to be around for my family and friends, nor for my clients. Although it isn't always easy, what I've been doing and will continue to do is to focus on being in the present, to keep my mind fixed on where I am and what I'm doing. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean to just go moment to moment without having any plan, just winging the process. Rather, it means having a plan, but focusing on following through with it one day at a time and not worrying or fixating too much on how long it is going to last or how it will change in the future. And it also means allowing myself to be grateful for what I experience on a day-to-day basis, like having a nice walk, having an enjoyable visit with my family, experiencing a good training session, savoring one of my satiating prep meals, so on and so forth. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, that's for sure, but being grateful for what's going well in the moment and fixating less on the future, I'm finding has been leaving me with a state of internal peace. And honestly, that internal peace is everything. It's a stark difference compared to the pain and chaos of anxiety. In a way, I'm going through with the prep with trying to not think much about actually being in a prep. I'm just going day to day, following through with the plan, but allowing myself to be fully in the present. This is admittedly taking a bit of effort to do, but it does seem to be doing wonders so far, especially when I think back and compare it to past preps, where my anxiety levels were significantly higher from failing to stay in the present and fixating much more in the future. So at this point, so far, so good with this prep. And that's it. If you liked the video, it would help me out a lot if you drop it a like and consider leaving a comment. And really quick, just before the video does come to a close, I wanted to let you know about the work that I do. When I'm not making YouTube videos, recording podcast episodes, or making Instagram content, I work full-time as an online physique coach where I help my clients to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals by optimizing their approach to strength training and nutrition and coaching them through the process. If you've been considering getting some help with accomplishing your own physique goals, you're invited to hit the link in the description below to learn a little bit more about the work that I do and how I can help you. You can even use that link to schedule a free video consultation with me. If you have any questions about my coaching or how I can help you, just email me at sam@jadeathletics.ca. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.